Today I'm going to talk to you about doing 3D puff foam, okay? You have two fonts in Design Shop that are already designed, digitized, and ready to sew over 3D foam. 100% important that whatever font you're doing that you want it to be 3D foam, that it's digitized to be 3D foam. You can't really take a regular font and make it 3D foam unless you have some digitizing skills. The density is different. They lower it, they make it much tighter, and they have little caps on the end, and that's what makes 3D puff foam look successful when your font is digitized that way. Well, you have two fonts already. You don't have to buy anything. It's already in your Design Shop. And today, after I do the bag, I'm going to show you exactly what I did to set it up, because even though you have the fonts in Design Shop, you do still have to adjust your settings because it's not going to be your default settings. So I'm going to show you exactly every little change that I made to get the machine to sew over this foam and look beautiful. So this is a Halloween bag. It already has a design on it, and all I'm doing is just adding a name at the top. So I'm going to use two pieces of tearaway. I always buy the heaviest tearaway that I can find. So I'm going to put my tearaway in there. Now, you're going to have to find your center before you put the foam down. So what I did was I just went ahead and put a little chalk mark right here. That's where I want my center to be. And let me just talk to you about bags, okay? Usually bags are not made 100% perfect. So I don't recommend that you measure from here to here and take half. I think that what you should do is look at the design, go center up from the design, or look at the handles and go center of the handles, because it just might not be the same. So I know that's tricky because I just said two things, right? Center with the design and center with the handles, but find a happy medium that centers with the design and that centers with the handles, because that will make your centering look so much better. So what I did here was I went and centered between the handles and I put my little chalk mark on there. So now I have my backing in there, my two pieces of tearaway backing. I am going to use today this 4x6 Mighty Hoop. And I'm going to keep the rough side up and I'm going to keep the tab up. So I'm going to slip this in here. I want my backing to 100% cover the hoop every time. That is the most important information you can take from me. Always have your backing all the way around. All right, and then I'm going to take my hoop, pop it on. I'm going to go over a little more because it didn't really pop in the right spot. Okay, and so now my chalk mark is in the center of my hoop, which is kind of the center of the ghost. So looks like this. Let me show you my back. I have it all the way around, nice and taut. Okay, now you have ActiveFeed settings, right? The ActiveFeed settings in the OS software. And sometimes when you're giving it you want the machine to feed a lot of thread or a small amount of thread, you can adjust that the way you want. But over my 20 years, I promise you that I'm just most comfortable keeping it on auto. So I'm going to show you both. I'm going to show you how you can tell the OS software, the software that runs the machine. I'm going to tell you how you can tell it, hey, I'm doing 3D puff, or just leave it on auto and it does the trick for you. So that's totally up to you, your machine, your settings, but I'm going to show you both. All right, so let's go ahead and put this on. Now, press your laser right here. See if you're on your mark where you want your center to be, which I am, but I would like to go up just a little bit. So I'm going to use the rectangle and the arrow up to go just up a little tiny bit. All right, and now I'm going to trace it out. Make sure nothing's caught underneath. Make sure your bag's not caught. I'm going to trace it out. Looks good to me. All right, now that you found your center, now you can put your 3D foam on. Okay, so how can you put this on? I cut this from this big piece right here that I purchased from Madeira. This is 3mm puff. I cut this so that it's going to wedge right into the hoop, but you can also tape it down with some painter's tape. You can pin it down with some stick pins. I don't recommend chopsticks. I just want to say that. I don't recommend that at all. I know I see it, but I'm going to, now that I found my center, I'm just going to wedge mine in there like that. Okay. And again, I could tape it if I want, but I'm okay with this. What is my needle? My needle that I have on white right now is a 7511 sharp. It's not brand new. I've used it a couple times. So it's, you know, I know that I live in the real world. I realize that we're not going to change the needle for every single thing that we do. I think a 7511 sharp is going to be fine for this, but if it's not, I can always bump it up to an 8012 sharp. But anyway, I have a 7511 sharp on my white, which I'm going to use. So that's what I'm going to keep it on. All right, let's talk about the presser foot when you're doing 3D foam. So take your needle case over. My needle case happens to be in the right place, but if yours is not, take the needle button and the arrow button and go over all the way so that you can get to your presser foot. Okay, you want your presser foot, you're going to lower it. You want your presser foot to be sitting on the foam, not digging into the foam and not above the foam. It has to be sitting on the foam. The job of the presser foot is to hold your fabric down. So you're going to have to make sure that it's just sitting on the foam. So you're going to go to Tools, Maintenance, Head Timing, Bottom Center, and that's going to drop your needle. So let's do it. Now I dropped my presser foot, so I want to look at my presser foot and I want to make sure that it's just sitting on the foam and not digging into it. So what you can do is you can take your presser foot wheel and you can roll it up until you see it's just sitting on there and not actually digging on there, digging into it. So I'm just rolling it up. Just do a click at a time. All right, so now my presser foot is just sitting on it. So I know it's going to do its job, which is to hold it down. And I know that it's not above it. And so it wouldn't do its job if that were the case, and it would be a disaster. All right, so now that I'm done with that, I'm going to say okay, and my needle is going to go back up. And we are officially ready to go. And it's officially finished. I'm charging $19 for this particular monogram because I did have to add this 3D foam. I think a big sheet like this cost approximately $2.50, something like that. Costs about $2.50. So I charged four more dollars. If you were just adding the name without the 3D puff, maybe you would charge $15. Just take the foam out like this. You always want to use the same color foam as thread because it is hard to cover and you don't want that one little piece of weird color foam sticking out. So always use the same color foam as thread. And then I'm just going to rip off the back like that. Now, sometimes you can take a heat gun and you can use a heat gun to kind of shrink up the foam a little bit. I'll touch that up with maybe just some little scissors. So now let me show you how I change the settings in Design Shop to make this run successfully. Let's set up Dylan. Came over here, clicked on A, clicked on the screen, typed in D-Y-L-A-N. Now I'm going to say enter, and then I'm going to say center. Now I'm going to come down on my alphabets. I'm going to come down to the puff right here, and I have two choices, and I chose this one right here, which you can see that the minimum is 1/2 inch and the maximum suggested height is 2 inches. So make sure that you stay within those limits when you decide to do your 3D puff. Click here. All right, now what I want to do is I want to take off all of those underlay stitches because I don't want to flatten my 3D puff. So I'm going to come here under underlay and say none and none. That gets rid of all of my underlay. Now I'm going to double click, which opens up my object properties, and I want to come to top stitching. I'm going to turn off short stitches, and I'm also going to turn off auto density. Now that I've turned off auto density, my default density is 4. but I actually want it to be 1.7 because I need to cover the foam. So the lower the number, the more coverage that I'll have to cover that foam. Right here where it says use a fill for stitch line greater than, I have it as a 0. I have it disabled because I don't want any of this. If you use something bigger than 1 inch, this may turn into a fill stitch, and I don't want that. So I did go ahead and turn that to 0. Now I'm going to say apply, and you can see all of my changes have taken place. All right, and so now you can just come and adjust whatever you want to do, however you decide you want the letters to look. And when I press play down here, you can see that these lines right here, they're going to hold the puff down, and that right there, that's like the cap. That's the cap I was talking about, so that you can't see the foam underneath the thread. So those are the settings that you're going to change to do your 3D puff.